What up, gang? Carolina Jackpot time coming at you on Tuesday evening. I hope everybody had a good day today. It's kind of rainy and cold here in the upstate of South Kakalaki, but it did dry off later in the day and it seemed to warm up a little bit toward the end of the afternoon as it turned to dusk, so that's always a good thing. Anyway, if you're new around here, consider staying true around here. Subscribe to the Carolina Jackpot channel. We have a heck of a good time discussing college football over here all year long. Hit this video with a thumbs up too if you don't mind. It helps me out tremendously. South Carolina Gamecocks offensive coordinator search. The head Gamecock in charge, Shane Beamer. I'm kind of embarrassed to call him that, but that's what he is, at least for the time being. From what I'm reading today over on a 24/7 it could be 27/4, I guess, 24/7 sports site, and J.C. Sherbert, the guy who's a Gamecock correspondent over there. It appears that John David Baker, the guy that I told you about in yesterday's video, the current offensive coordinator at East Carolina, who's got ties to Lane Kiffin, that has been putting up some mega numbers at ECU the past couple of years to kind of turn that offense and that whole mindset there and that program around, is probably not one that is going to be joining us at South Carolina. Rumor has it there that potentially James Franklin could be looking at him to go to Virginia Tech, or could potentially be joining Pete Golding's new staff that he's looking to assemble at Ole Miss. Of course, Golding, within like an hour of Lane Kiffin making his announcement to his players on Saturday or Sunday afternoon that he would be heading to Red Stick to take the job at LSU, was named the permanent head coach at LSU, where he was the defensive coordinator. So he's going to need an OC because Lane Kiffin's OC, Charlie Weiss Jr., is expected to join him in Baton Rouge. Confused yet? No, shouldn't be. Should be following right along. That should come right off to you. So this is another one here that it sounds like Shane Beamer, and it said, well, no official offer has been made. Well, I mean, how do you know? How can you say these things if no offer's been made? I think it probably was, and it probably was shot down. That's probably what ended up happening there. I'm telling you, this is going to be a tough. Look. I feel kind of sorry for Shane Beamer, to be honest with you. It must suck in some ways to be a football coach that's not any good, because the pressure is always on you and your back is always up against the wall. However, being a fired football coach of a Power 4 team right now probably ain't exactly the worst gig in the world, is it? I doubt it, because that whenever you get fired, you're always going to get a wheelbarrow full of money. Whatever happened to most jobs I've ever had, I mean, if you got let go, you got let go. They didn't keep paying you after you got let go. They certainly didn't give you some big lump sum, and there were no perks to getting let go. I mean, you might get your vacation pay if you got let go, like in terms of like a severance or something, like a company shutting down or something like that. But if you got let go with cause, if you're stealing or something, they wouldn't pay you that. Now, I'm not saying I've never gotten fired from a job. I've quit several jobs to take different ones, but I've never gotten fired, and I didn't continue getting paid. But that's what happens with college coaches and these guys signing these big old contracts. That's why I've said I think that those jobs, that the better you are, the more of a resume you build, your base salary every year should be a certain amount, and your job status every year should be based on your performance for that year. And there should be meetings held at the end of the season every year to determine if you're going to stay on or not. And they might give you a little bit of a raise here, but contracts should be that shit should be that's what's ruining all this crap. Aside from that, I got way off topic there, so that one looks like a swing and a miss for Beamer. Still haven't heard anything about the guy from Old Dominion, or the name of the OC from Pitt is also keeps popping in there. I believe his last name is something Glenn. There was talk at one point about the OC actually out at Utah, but it appears this guy is kind of like the coach. His last name is Beck, and I'm sorry that I don't have all the skinny on all these guys, but he apparently is the coach in waiting at Utah. You know, Kyle Whittingham has been the head guy out there ever since Urban left Utah to come to Florida back, I think, at the end of the 2004 season. So Kyle Whittingham is a little bit long in the tooth, and he's probably not much longer for that job out in Salt Lake. This guy is expected to take over that role. So here we go. A few more days after the season's over. We don't have anything settled yet here on the OC hire. He needs to hurry up. We need to get this thing done. You know, John Summerall has taken over at Florida. He took over they announced him Sunday as the new head coach at Florida. Okay? And he's still coaching Tulane. He's going to coach them in their AAC championship game against North Texas. I believe that's this Friday. And should Tulane make it to the playoffs, he's going to be with them there too, from what I understand. Which is kind of a weird dynamic. The Lane Kiffin supporters will say, well, what? It's not fair that Lane can't coach Ole Miss. He wanted to coach Ole Miss through the playoffs, but they won't let him do it. They won't let him do it because he's a freaking snake. That's why. And he's a known fibber and narcissist bullshitter. I don't think John Summerall is probably any of those things. So there you go with that. Plus, Ole Miss is pretty much guaranteed a spot in the playoffs based off there. Tulane would only make it into the playoffs if they have to win their conference championship game. And then on top of that, they still would have to be the highest rated Group of 5 team. You got James Madison, who also is a hurdle they'll have to clear. They're expected to blow out Troy in the Sun Belt Conference Championship game. They could be the highest rated Group of 5 team. So that when they'd be the highest rated Group of 5 champion, they could potentially be the one to make it into playoffs. Also there as well. So, but he's been on this job for 2 days, still is the coach at Tulane, and he's already hired his defensive coordinator. He took Brad White, the longtime Mark Stoops defensive coordinator from Kentucky, snatched him on up, and he's made him his defensive coordinator at Florida. Not a bad hire at all for old John Summerall. This guy's always had good defenses at Kentucky. They've always been solid. Kentucky's problems in this bit of a funk that they've gotten themselves into with the losing seasons under Stoops, the problems have not been on the defensive side of the football. They've strictly been they can't move the ball. So that's not on Brad White. Now, they have had some games, I think, where the defense didn't look that great. But then again, it's kind of a Gamecock situation where the defense ends up looking worse than it really is because it's on the field constantly because your offense is stuck in the rut. That's a good hire for him. But my point being, how's this guy on the job for 2 days and he's already made a hire at defensive coordinator? And Shane Beamer's known he's going to need an offensive coordinator for, 6 weeks now? And we still haven't done anything. And I'm like, well, you're in a rush, jackpot. Well, look, your signing day, what's your early signing day is tomorrow. You got your transfer portal fixing to open at the beginning of January. And you got agents talking to these guys right now. And agents talking to agents. You've got stuff flying around all over the place. We haven't heard of any Gamecocks to get in the transfer portal yet, but I mean, I got to think that news is coming soon. You did hear Lenora Sellers when they asked him the other day say something about some exams coming up, and when after that's over with, it's when he's going to kind of evaluate what's up and figure out what he's going to do. And I'm not saying that he's lying on that. He probably is. I've known that in his time at South Carolina that he's been a judicious student and that wants to actually do well in the classroom and actually does do well in the classroom, which is, kind of, I'm not going to say it's an anomaly, but it's a little bit different than some of your athletes today. So I believe him in that regard. But you need to get somebody, to me, in place before all that happens so that you can start having conversations with these guys now. So you get this guy in here to start having conversations with these kids about, this is what I plan to do with you. Excuse me, and this, and this. As far as Mike Furry goes, they ain't no way they're making him the offensive coordinator. But from everything I'm reading, these players really, really love Mike Furry. And a point that I didn't make last night that one of our subscribers who watches a lot of the videos actually commented to me last night. It really hasn't dawned on me that much this year, because when you have a year like we had, it's hard to find a lot of positives, and you tend not to really look for positives because you're always being negative, and that negativity is like really dominant in your thinking, and so you don't look at anything positive about the team. But he did point out when I had said something in the video that I haven't seen a whole lot of difference between the receiver play under Justin Stepp and the receiver play under him. Well, he did point out that, hey, haven't seen as many drops this year as what we used to see in the past. And that's a fair point. That is a fair point. Now, we have seen some. One that comes and stands out in my mind the most is Mazeo Bennett dropping a sure touchdown pass on the goal line from Sellers from about 35, 40 yards out at Mizzou, I believe, in the second quarter of that ball game. That would have given us another 7 points. We didn't end up scoring anything on that drive. Could have turned the tide in that ball game a little bit, but he didn't catch it, so it didn't. But that's just one that comes to mind. But other than that, I can't think of a whole lot of notable drops. I can think of some bobbles. I can think of some players bobbling balls and batting them up in the air and letting them get intercepted and take them back for a damn touchdown in a game or two. One game I can think of. But, yeah. What is that? 2017, 2022, and 2025, Clemson has had pick six against the Gamecocks. All three of those games, 2017, 2022, 2025, they've had a pick six against us. Maddening. I don't remember the last time we ever had a damn pick six against them. 2010, I remember back in 2010, what was his name? Antonio Allen, I think, that had a pick six against the Taters. Aside from that, I'm having a hard time remembering. Us doing any of that. I guess you could also count that. Well, it wasn't a pick six, but it was a scoop and score 2 years ago. The old BS backwards lateral touchdown. But anyway, I'm not here to bitch about that game. It is what it is. Just losing to that average ass Rudy Poo Clemson team has just. It's kind of sent me into a little bit of a tailspin, but in a way, it's also kind of rejuvenated me a little bit. I'm starting to kind of look at this program from a 10,000 foot view instead of so much from the fan view, and I'm really starting to see just some holes and problems and things I just don't like, things I just can't put past. Also, it's like Clayton White, defensive coordinator, could end up being in line for the job at Coastal Carolina. I hope he gets it. I mean, he deserves it. I mean, guy works his ass off. Good for him if he gets that job. Won't be a bad thing. By the way, speaking of Kentucky, we were talking about a minute ago, they announced that they have hired a new football coach. That was announced yesterday as well. The same day that they announced the actual official firing of Mark Stoops. Everybody knew about it on Sunday, but it wasn't made official until Monday. They've already hired a new head coach there, and that it would be Oregon offensive coordinator Will Stein, who has ties to the area as he was at one time quarterback for Louisville, which is kind of odd. Former Louisville player going to coach the rival Kentucky Wildcats, but hey, it means he knows the area. The guy's like, I believe they said he was 35, 36 years old. Really good offensive mind. Been out there under Dan Lanning. That guy's nuts. I really watched a whole lot of it. I've seen him get kind of excitable before when he's getting interviewed on the sidelines, but I don't watch a ton of Oregon football because it's usually on at the same time that some SEC game is, or some other Gamecocks game, or some other game that I am kind of vested in. But I kind of rewatched some of their game against Washington that came on last night, and he's all about some damn football, ain't he? There's a girl interviewed him at halftime. We're fixing to go back on the field for the third quarter, and she asked him about responding in the second half. How's your team gonna hold up in the second half? How you plan to secure this victory? He's like, third and fourth quarter, it's nut cutting time. Okay, there you go, buddy. All right, let's see. But so I like him. I thought that was that's pretty damn good. But anyway, Will Stein will be a good hire, I think, for Kentucky. Offensive-minded coach, which is exactly how you had to go, because your offense has been stuck in the mud, much like South Carolina's has for a long time, and I think this guy will help you guys get it out of there. I really do. So that'll automatically be another SEC program that'll be better than us, just by virtue of better coaching, more than likely. Anyway, that's about all I got to say about that, guys. I will see you all later on. Appreciate you. Peace. And I'm out of here still. Go Gamecocks. Woo!